The 5 desires are sleep, food, sex, money, power. And I had always heard them as hindrances. My Seisen Roshi said, these are hindrances to our practice. Sleep, food, sex, money, power. And I've been looking at, I started talking about this in terms of our practice. How can we, because maybe it would be nice just not to have those things. But then, of course, we wouldn't be human and we wouldn't be alive. And actually what the Buddha said is the human form is the very best form for waking up because we have those. If you're in the hell realms, it's too hard. We're in the hell realms, we're just so unhappy, we don't think about anything. And the heaven realms are so great, everything just goes fine. But as humans, we have these desires. In order to survive, we need these things. These are part of our life, and they create suffering for us. So those of us who are here probably have realized that my chasing around after my desires creates suffering. So how can I end that suffering? That was Buddha's question. How can I end my suffering? So I've been looking at these in terms of how can we structure our spiritual practice so that we can wake up, so we can wake up to our true self, our true nature, which is infinite. Never dying, never born. Wake up to that true self in the midst of these 5 desires, which is a big part of our life. And I just saw by happenstance last night, I watched this movie that was so perfect. It's like the universe wants you to, this movie about Tolstoy. Did anybody see it? It's called The Station or something. It was 2009, and the 2 actors were nominated for Academy Awards, and I had never heard of it before. But his story is just so, and they say it's true. I don't know how true it was, but basically, of course, you know Tolstoy, the great Russian novelist. But then he became very, very spiritual. He wrote those novels, and then he became a very, very spiritual person. And his, like according to the movie, the very bottom value of his spiritual teaching was love. Love. And he said all religions have that in common, love. For Buddhists, that love is the oneness of all things. Everything is love. And when we do that shift, the waking up is a shift from identifying with this little thing, this little ball of greed, anger, ignorance, who's just desperate to survive and to get by and to be approved and to have good times, to shift from focusing on this little thing to the oneness of all things, to identifying as everything. It's incredible. I think of it as a tapestry. It's an incredible tapestry of life with all sorts of beings arising and falling away, and that's what I am. So that shift is what awakening in Buddhism is, and it's the same shift to realize everything is love. Everything is love. So talking about the 3rd desire, sex, part of, as I've talked about, part of that component is just that physical. I want orgasm now. But probably way more complicated is that desire for personal romantic love. The desire for romantic love is so strong. I want someone to love me. I'm not complete unless I have that romantic love. And it defines, for many people, it defines our life. Our romantic love is the very most important aspect of our life. And of course, with that, our children, and the love of family, children. So Tolstoy's kind of dilemma was he fell in love with, I think, Sonia, his wife, when she was 18 and he was 34. And she was, of course, a beautiful girl. And they were completely smitten with each other and went on to have like 1 billion children, or 8 or something like that. But already he had started setting up these spiritual guidelines. And one was no birth control. So lots of kids. And she was in favor of birth control, according to, I think I read Wikipedia too about it. And then she was with him as he wrote, like War and Peace. She hand copied War and Peace 7 times. That's love. I mean, they didn't have computers then, in case you didn't know. They didn't have word processors then. So she stood by him, and he became a famous novelist and got a whole bunch of money. And then he became spiritual. And he started realizing universal love and the importance of universal love. And he wanted to teach that. And he also, the sex, money, power, he didn't want to have money anymore. He realized money takes away from my spiritual life. So he wanted to give all his money away. And he started a commune, kind of a community. And this is all from the movie. I have not studied Tolstoy. And one of the precepts of this community was celibacy, because sex is trouble. You want to realize the oneness of all things? It's hard to do that when you're totally enmeshed in romantic love and also providing for a family and doing all this. So his spiritual community, he was teaching celibacy. Better to, as I talked about in the earlier classes, shift that feeling of love, of personal love, shift that attachment to loving all beings. So here he is teaching this kind of stuff, but he's still got Sonia, who now is crazy, absolutely crazy, because she's afraid. He's thinking about leaving the rights to his books to the movement. And of course that would be the spiritual thing to do. And of course people in the movement think that would be the good thing to do, because they're hooked on money, as we all are. They're concerned about money. And Sonia wants it left to, Tolstoy's wife wants it left to her children. Her. So they're just having these horrendous fights. And I had always heard that Tolstoy died in really terrible circumstances in a little room by the railroad station and stuff, but I didn't realize he was fleeing his wife when that happened. But to me, and I really recommend this movie because they really see both sides of that. And her thing, she had a family, she had personal love, and it was missing in her life. And then also his going back and forth. On one hand, he's teaching these kind of rigid things. On the other hand, he still loves her. There's one great scene, you may not have to see the movie now, that she says, She says, I'm dying, I'm so sick, come and see me. And he was at another place. And so he rushes to her bedside, and of course she's not sick at all. She just missed him. And he's mad, and he's like yelling at her. And then she starts doing their little sex dance. And those of you who've been in a relationship for a while know you get some kind of silly little things you do. And she starts going, cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo, which I guess was the what do they call that before you have sex? Foreplay, the foreplay. And all of a sudden he shifts from being so angry, I have my work to do, I have the spiritual practice, to cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. So in him there was that like double kind of schizophrenic, that puzzle of how do I have my spiritual practice and my personal love? How do those work? And it's just very important for us now in Western spiritual practice, and of course particularly Zen. I mean, my teacher, my Seisen Roshi, struggled with his family and his Dharma family, his students, and his desire to teach and spread the Dharma, and his love for his family. And lately it's all coming out. If you want to know, I decided to talk about sex before all of the recent stuff came out around Genpo Brazil. And I don't want to go into it, and I don't want to try to analyze it, because Lord knows what's going on with all my Dharma brothers and sisters. But if you want to know, read Sweeping Zen. That website has a lot of this stuff going on. But also some of the kids now. My Seisen Roshi's daughter posted about her feelings, and her feelings kind of abandonment in being the daughter of a spiritual person, a spiritual leader. And I think the same, and again, I could be wrong, but I think Gandhi, one of Gandhi's children committed suicide. But Gandhi's family felt abandoned. Martin Luther King. That to decide on a spiritual life and have a family, how to do that. And of course the easy answer is don't have a family. That was my choice, and I do recommend that. But that's not everybody's karma, and it's not what your life is. So how to experience this universal love and live and model loving all beings. That's what, when I was married, I have been married, Tenshin said as his vow, he said, I wish that I could love all beings as much as I love you, which I love that. And you can see that Tenshin and I had a relationship that we did really have that agreement that our spiritual practice was the most important for us. And when our teaching shifted and we were not good partners in terms of our teaching style, it was relatively easy to end our relationship, because we had made that agreement that for both of us, spiritual practice was more important than the romantic, personal love. But that's not always true. So how to have a spiritual practice and a family where maybe your partner isn't as dedicated to spiritual practice. And I just put it out there as a koan, as a great koan for this time. And of course, from a Zen standpoint,